Dr. Jazz.
Go to work.
Thanks for finding the time, first of all. Appreciate it. Uh, Greetings from Slovenia. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, you played here in Ljubljana. Like I saw you 22 years ago, actually.
Oh, my. I've gotten older, so don't worry about that part. Nice
Well,
to meet you.
nice to meet you too. Yeah, I wanted to start this talk with the your birthday celebration, which is coming up in four, 14 days, kind of like the gigs are
Or
starting.
more or less, yes.
Yeah, like what are you gonna present? I saw you were gonna present two bands, the trio and the quartet. Like, are we gonna hear some new music also? And
It's always new music. I mean, it may be the
oh,
same melody, but wherever the day takes us, that's
yeah,
what it's going to be. So I've hired my friends for the last four bands I had, other than the trio with the late Russell Malone.
yeah.
I've worked it out that my most immediate musical friends are doing the birthday week. And those of those who couldn't fit in the week, I'll see them in October, for they have a whole month of
Oh,
1 week for
okay.
each band.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We call it Rontober. 1 week big band, 1 week quartet, 1 week trio, and 1 week duo for the month of October. So this is like the warm up to the big bash.
Oh, that's incredible. Fantastic. Okay. I wanted to ask you about music. You as a composer. I mean, I've played Lil Waltz so many times with various combos, and you've written so many great tunes like "Receipt Please" and New York Slick and stuff like that. How do you compose usually, or how have you composed? Like, especially, let's say, Lil Waltz, because it's such nice, with the intervals, the sixths and sevenths, and
Well, that started out I was working on a method book at the time. And the way my concept works on the bass, I try to play as much horizontally
yep.
as opposed to vertically. And this order of intervals I happened to stumble on for this particular page in my exercise book, it has a little more melody content than they normally do. Generally you do it for skill and
Yeah.
choices, but this seemed to be, it just kind of settled into a nice waltz zone for me all of a sudden. So I said, I felt like Sherlock Holmes. What have we here, And what we have here ultimately turned out to be a little waltz
Mm.
that started out as a purely technical exercise.
Oh, interesting. Have you written like in the past, like on a regular basis, or usually like project oriented when you knew you had a album?
Well, I do not wait before I got wait to a project. I'm so
Yeah, right.
busy
Yeah.
playing other people's music and tunes, and that's okay. I get better practicing on them, you know. But when I've always had my own sessions, I've always written most of the music because I've kind of learned how to write,
Mm.
and I've learned how not to write for me.
Did the
So it works
writing
out pretty good. Yeah,
did the writing come easy to you? You as a composer?
yeah,
I mean, like, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I have to know the rules though. There are rules to every game,
Sure.
and I'm learning the rules not so much as I go along as I listen to other people's compositions and play with them as they play their songs.
Yeah.
I want to watch them discover what's wrong. So, okay, I got that one. That free school, man.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Ron, I wanted to use the opportunity having you here. I mean, asking you some questions that I haven't read or heard so much about, and one is,
Okay, well, you got a half hour to get them all answered.
yeah, exactly. Now, I wanted to ask you about Eric Dolphy. I mean, I've been such a huge fan, and I did an album of all his tunes on acoustic guitar like 4 years ago,
Oh, wow,
and
wow, that's a project, man.
that's a project, yeah. And what was your story with Eric? I mean, I know you did Where, and then you played on, Out There and Far Cry, and
Okay,
how
well,
did you meet him?
my,
And
my my story is pretty limited. Eric and I met with the Chico Hamilton band in the
yeah,
fall of 1959. He had a band of Chico Hamilton drums and singing Then this Buttermere guitar, Nat Gershwin cello, and Bull Ruther was the bass player. When that tour ended up in New York, I met Chico earlier. He was going to hire me when I came down to Birdland that night to play cello because the cello player was going to leave. So I'm going down to Birdland, bopping down there, and says, "Hey, Ron L, Nett's going to stay at the bass player's leaving. Can you play the bass parts?" I said, "Sure." So I joined the band that night and did a 6-month tour on and off at Chico Hamilton.
Oh.
Eric was always practicing.
Wow.
I'd have to say, "Eric, stop. I want you to hear what you just played. You keep playing over that stuff. Stop, man. Marinate it. Just think about what just took place. Just to give you a chance to orient your concept. I did this. Did it work? How come it didn't work? Not just kind of layer." I thought, because he was such an active player. He was a real physical player. He played the instruments really, I don't mean hard, but precisely. And he never missed the keys. He was on top of that stuff, And I was thinking that if you keep staying on top of him, you're going to miss the good notes because you're banging them so hard. Just stop. He'd go outside and play with the birds and all that really silly shit, So, "Eric, let the birds have it, Get out of their house, I made no gigs with him, only the recording sessions.
Really? Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
He was always working with Mingus's band. Once Chico's band broke up, he joined Mingus's band more or less. Then he'd do some single things, going to Europe by himself with a pickup group. At that time, I was already working with other groups. Randy Weston, Herbie Mann, Betty Card. I was kind of getting busy in the freelance world. And I didn't, first of all, he already had a bass player working with him with these groups, Mingus or wherever they were, And Richard Davis, great guys playing with him, man. So there was no need for me to be playing with him because he already had a bass player in those groups, so to speak. And I was getting busy as a freelancer. I thought that I couldn't do what Eric was doing and still be a freelancer in New York with a new family and just finishing graduate school. So it just didn't work out. We became really good friends. Eric then moved to New York, and he didn't know how to cook. So my first wife, who passed away, naturally passed away 20 years ago, would invite Eric to our house for dinner. And she'd show him how to fix the dinner. "Eric, I fixed this for us. This is what I did, yada, yada, yada. Go home and practice this." I said, "Yeah, wife, she's going to go home and practice this, making a stew and not practice the flute, I don't think." But tell her to it, And he did learn how to cook. I'm not sure how well it was received by his partner, but he could put together a good meal. But we had no life outside of that.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah, because musically you fit so perfectly there on those records.
It was a good time, man. It was, I was learning how to do it. I was learning how to be a leader on the bandstand. I was learning how to make a record. I learned how to organize my thoughts to put a project together. It was really my early formative days on. When I get there, I'll be ready to do it. And,
so band leading was easy then for you when you started immediately. Yeah.
So I got there, and I'm still getting better at doing it.
Yeah, obviously. It's a good mentality. Yeah. You mentioned the freelancing, like how did then those Blue Note sessions? How were they processed? I mean, obviously, you talked about Herbie and Wayne. I wanted to ask you about Andrew Hill and Sam Rivers and these guys who were.
Blue Note had a good plan. They want the band to rehearse at least one time before the session.
Oh.
But Frank and Alfred were kind of insistent on that kind of process, so they would know what was going on. They would know what to expect. Neither one read music. Frank took all the pictures. Alfred was the sound guy. There was that duo. And I think they just wanted to go in there not so ill-prepared to understand what this black guy was playing called jazz. And this rehearsal gave them an idea to kind of understand what they might hear.
Yeah.
Because no one really knew. Even we didn't know. I mean, I didn't know what Andrew Hill was going to play until the second chorus or so, Or I didn't know what music he had, or if he knew how to write bass parts. If you could write what you really want me to play.
Yeah.
Do I play this? Or do you want me to do this? I was learning how to do that stuff too by understanding the value of a rehearsal. And one of the values of these rehearsals was we would hear a basic view of the leader's concept.
Yeah.
Harmonically. Were the arrangements complicated? Was he the only one taking solos? How loud did he play? How long did he count the tunes off? Did he know how to do that? Did he know how to say, last take? Stuff like this, you know.
Yeah.
We were all learning. And Frank would take the pictures, and Alfred would come out and say, guys, it's not swinging, it's got to swing. Whatever he meant by that, the guys knew that Alfred didn't like it. That's the only way he could say that. And they would go back and make another attempt, not necessarily to help Alfred define swing, but help them clear away some ideas that clearly weren't working for Alfred, whatever they were.
Mm. Yeah.
If you talk about body language, you know, Alfred was really astute at checking out the guys. If he saw someone flinch at a certain point, he would remember what that was in the song and say, guys, way back here, something happened. I don't know what, he would that kind of stuff. And we were all sympathetic to Alfred because he was a nice guy. He paid good money, paid cash. He bought a lunch. I mean, he was not the prototypical guy of a terrible producer who knows nothing but gimme, gimme, gimme. You know?
Yeah.
And because he was such a nice guy, the groups who recorded for him gave him a little more leeway because he was letting them record their music.
Yeah. So important. Yeah.
You know, unquestionably, this is your tunes. Yeah. And because he was a nice guy, he did pay for the rehearsal space and did bring bag lunch food for the dates because you couldn't go out to eat nowhere because there's no place open near Rudy's to eat during the course of the session. So, you know, there's a learning process for everyone. I'm not sure the guys, I'm not sure the musicians understood what was really happening.
Yeah.
But they were helping land on a template on how to make a record.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alfred with his no sense of music was leading them down this path by just his ability to, I hate this term, feel the vibe.
Yeah. I know
He could feel it wasn't right, but he didn't know what to tell. He couldn't say, hey man, that F7 didn't work. But the man said, good. Give me some more orange. What? Orange stuff. You know, guys. So he was at the forefront of that kind of concept. And because the guys were such special players, all of them, all those guys, man.
Yeah.
That format worked for all those guys.
Yeah. You said the musicians weren't aware, in a sense, what was happening. I mean, if I listen to those recordings, these are all classics. Any of those albums you put on now, it still sounds modern, if you know what I mean. If you put many records from, let's say, 80s, it's dated. Or well, those records, you know, Andrew Hill's, I don't know, Grassroots, it's like as modern as it can be, or Fuchsia, you know, like
early Bobby Hutcherson.
For instance, like, were you aware of that? You as a bassist, that you are doing something in a sense groundbreaking, or
no? None of us were. We were just trying to play our
music. Yeah.
Excuse me. We were trying to play our music,
Yeah.
You know, and there are a lot of choices from different bands. The MJQ was still very famous. Dave Brubeck was very famous. You know, Oscar Peterson was still very famous. And there's a little group over here with the Sam Rivers group. They were getting very famous. And Sun Ra. There are groups with these areas that they were interested in. And Blue Note happened to tie into this specific era of music, of the guys who were rooted in tradition, but they're also rooted in being curious about, what does my shit sound like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now I have the guys who will let me record my music with my friends who can help me do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I was one of those guys that decided that I could help them do what they wanted to do. Don Ellis, Jackie Byard, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was the guy for them.
Yeah. Yeah, you blended beautifully with all those guys. I mean, amazing.
They asked me, say,
Yeah,
can you do this? I said, yeah, I can do that.
absolutely. Ron, I'm a guitarist, so I wanted to use this chance to ask you about some relationship you had with some guitarists, especially Jim Hall.
Hmm.
You guys played, I think, such beautiful music together. How did you meet Jim and you're playing with Jim? Because in one way you're quite opposite stylistically how you play, yet you kind of blend it perfectly together when I hear it.
Well, there's a club in New York called uh, The Guitar, strangely enough, and they only had duos for a while.
Oh.
And this club owner heard about me and heard about Jim, and he said, I got a room. Can you guys come and play a couple of nights in my little room I'm putting together? At the same time, the Playboy clubs, you remember them?
Yeah, sure.
They were really a real jazz room at that time in New York. They had 3 or 4 floors on 55th Street between Fifth Avenue and Madison, and with all the bunnies and stuff. But they had some wonderful guys playing there. Monty Alexander, Cedar Walden, all these guys just played at in their room at this Playboy club, you know. And so there's another jazz room opening up just like that.
Yeah.
So there are chances for smaller groups to find work. It wasn't just the beboppers who were working, these duo rooms of Bradley's and these all where they were showing up at the time when me and Cedar went out and made some rooms up jazz, or me and Bobby Timmons went out and said, hey man, let's try some jazz in this room. That was really going on really big at the time. So with these rooms growing like that, uh, a generally non-threatening duo of bass and drum, bass and guitar, you can work anywhere because you're not scaring anybody. You're just kind of in the corner playing some like wallpaper music, you know.
Yeah,
It turned out to be some very important wallpaper music.
absolutely. Yeah,
Uh, so
yeah.
we made about six or seven records, really good duo records. I think Samo, I think our relationship was that Jim would put together an arrangement at his house, and on the gig, my job was to make that motherfucker work.
Mm. That's nicely put. Yeah, yeah,
And we had a great time fooling around with that, man. That's lovely. I miss him. I miss him so much today. I can't comprehend how important he is still in my life today as we sit here where
mm,
we are. His his name is like a blinking light, Jim Hall,
mm,
and my life still wants to see that.
mm. Yeah, yeah.
We made a record at the Village West called
Yeah,
Milan
of course.
Cody.
Yeah, yeah.
But I listen to that occasionally. My students come in to talk about bass and stuff like that, and I say, "Well, listen to this record. It's not a bad record, you know." And I'm amazed. We had no rehearsals. We go in and play the tune. We work out the sets, and I would trust him to put it together. Just tell me what it is, you know. No big deal, you know. But the things we stumbled on with this kind of focus,
Mm,
understanding that there's another guy in this partnership who will meet the challenge night in and night out. That was real special to us. We never talked about it, but we felt it every night. And that record, Live at the Club at the Village West,
yeah, yeah.
just a perfect example of guys just sitting down, knowing the music, and knowing that whatever they play, this other guy is going to make it work the next chorus. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah, he could really listen well, right? I mean, I listened
Yeah,
today to how
perfect,
he
man. You
accompanied
know,
you, like
the
the
Freddie
complex.
Green and the
Yeah,
chord voicings, you know,
yeah,
and the range of the bass and the guitar. I was always amazed that he used a pick, but never sounded like it. And I couldn't figure out how he did that.
yeah,
You don't hear that clicking feeling of articulation, but it's just a great thing to play with
mm,
and
yeah,
against.
yeah, yeah. And against, yeah. No, it's just like I mean, for me, obviously he was a monster soloist, but just his comping, on the bridge or on the records you've done with him, like it's just
Just the voicings he had,
the
you know,
voicings, yeah, intervals and
the 3 notes, man. And I got the fourth note, Jim. Don't worry about it. It'll work. Yeah,
yeah,
lovely man. I miss him.
yeah, man. You mentioned also Russell Malone before. How did you meet then Russell? Because he's also been, one of my top players ever.
Yeah, at one time they were putting together these afternoon sessions at the Village Vanguard. When they had matinees, which, if you
Yeah.
believe that, way back in the day, and they had the kitchen and the whole routine. And there's one of these days where can't remember who the band was, but Russell Malone was a guitar player in the band. And I hadn't heard his name through guitar players I was making with Wes and records I had done. And of course, Russell's name came up because he was the person who got your attention. He knew
Yeah.
the history of the guitar. He could play it in his stuff, And one of the things I talked to him about was how to use the amp,
Mm.
And I said, Russell, right now, you got the amp on stun. Can you turn it down to medium so I can play with you, not against you, And Russell, having known my history, not for the years, he understood that I'm trying to tell him this stuff so we can have fun.
Mm.
And he said, Pops, you showed me how to play music tonight. I said, Russell, I'm showing you how I'm trying to play music with you. He's open to all these choices. Just a wonderful man. Another guy whose name is still like this, man.
Mm.
Still blinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I saw Jim Hall in Ljubljana years ago, and he was with Eric Clark and Scott Colley, and he was playing at such a low volume, yet the intensity was so high.
Yeah.
It's incredible how to achieve that. That's
Well, I tell my kids, it isn't the volume, it's the note.
yeah. Yeah.
If I make you hear F sharp, I did my job. If I didn't, and you couldn't hear what it was, you didn't hear me at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
timing is everything. Building a line, concept, resolving. It's a whole lot of things, and volume is not at the top of the list.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Yeah. One last thing. You mentioned the Blue Note sessions, and then you've done hundreds of CTI sessions, and among them, very many with George Benson. And, we mentioned Wes and all these guitarists. How was it like to work with George in those sessions and the CTI? Because it was a completely different vibe than Blue
Yeah,
Note, right?
it was completely different because I think two things. We the label has settled into a process, a routine.
Yeah.
The leader and create would meet. They pick songs in the library. They decide on an arranger, Don Sebesky.
Yeah.
They decide on the personnel, and you go in and make the record. The one stipulation was, Samo, that if Ron Carter wasn't available on these days, we could not make a record.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know this. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was
So I was a
actually, they wanted you, right? I mean,
I was a linchpin for the day, for the record. If I wasn't available, when are you available? Well, I'm day after tomorrow. Okay, it's 4 o'clock. We're on.
mm.
And not one of those guys, man, complained about that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever play gigs with George otherwise also? Or these were just sessions?
We did brief tours.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, we just went to Chicago a couple of times, went to Japan really early on in the tour.
Really? I don't know. Okay.
I was surprised that more labels didn't pick up on what Creep was doing. He was taking the exact recording band on the road.
Oh, okay. That's smart. Yeah.
George, Johnny Hammond Smith, Jackie Jeanette, Cobham, Bob James, Hubert Laws, Freddie Hubbard. California concerts, man.
Yeah.
That does a CTI label on the road.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand why more jazz labels didn't understand what was happening. And the results of the band being on tour, it doubled the record sales. They saw
Absolutely.
the same band on the stage in their house,
Yeah. Yeah.
Milestone did the thing with Sonny Rollins All-Stars, me, Sonny Rollins, McCoy, and Al Foster. That record made Sonny's visibility
Yeah. Yeah.
his record things jumped off because the
Yeah.
people saw him on record, heard him on record, but now they see him with these other guys live with the same kind of sound. It's a great thing to see. And of all the things for them not to copy, they missed that opportunity to stamp the stuff with this.
Yeah.
But those guys were. I'm still enjoying the memories, man. I look around. I say when I look around that I'm not the only guy left standing, but I'm sure I'm one of the last two or three. And I can't believe that they're gone.
Mm. Yeah.
And I can't. They're not going to call me tomorrow about it for dinner or got a date for you available or got a gig. I'm not going to hear that from these guys anymore. I have my regrets. I didn't. Maybe I should have socialized that with them more, or I should have maybe stepped out of my my shy area, and maybe I should have been more available to tell them what I thought, rather than play what I thought.
Yeah.
But I didn't because I didn't think they were able to handle it, and I didn't think my vocabulary was good enough to say exactly what I was trying to get you guys to hear. I have some books out in the library, I've written out, and
Yeah.
these books and more students as I've gotten older have helped me be able to better verbalize where I'm trying to go with the bass lines and how I get there.
Yeah.
20 years ago, I just played what I heard and it was okay. Now I play what I hear, but it's better if I can explain why I hear it.
Yeah.
And if I had been maybe more aggressive with that knowledge 20 years ago, maybe we'd be somewhere else with them musically at that time, at the next record date or the next chorus or something like that.
Know what you mean? Yeah.
I missed that opportunity, but I did what the creator allowed me to do: be there for these guys and lead them somewhere.
Yeah.
I was really good at that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the music is there. I mean, yeah. But I know what you mean. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the music speaks for itself. So
Yeah.
absolutely. I wanted to, we said not to take too much of your time. Are you gonna go on the road this year also, still with some of the
Well,
bands, or?
no, I'm trying to. It's getting so tough to travel right now.
Yeah, I know that's why.
Airports are complicated. You got to be there 2 hours before the
Yeah.
flight. All this stuff. It's really complicated for me to do that now. And I'm going to be 88 pretty soon.
Yeah, that's why you've done it until recently, right? Still last
Yeah,
year.
if I were half as old, I would probably look at the same amount. Right now, I did a weekend 4 nights in Catalinas and Los Angeles, and I got 2 weeks off. And I did 1 night in Detroit, the Detroit House of Music.
Fantastic. Wow.
And next week I'm doing 1 night in Oberlin with Billy Hart, who I miss playing with.
Oh man,
So
fantastic.
I'm going out 1 day at a time, as far apart as my schedule will allow.
Yeah.
And right now I'm good with that.
Yes, please. I mean, it's my longest tour was 17 days in a row. I did with Bob Moses and Ariel Thunders, and
Oh man.
gig
Oh
10 was for me like shit. I mean,
yeah,
how
I
do you
remember
guys
those days.
keep fresh, for so long? And I'm just, man.
I remember those days, man. 3 sets a night. I remember those days.
That's crazy, that's amazing.
There's a purpose in that, though. It worked out. Those who were interested in getting better, they understood that this 3 sets a night is a thing to develop a lot of stuff: concept,
Yeah.
sound, consistency, a fan base, discipline, the length of the songs, the length of the tunes, stuff. And everyone grumbled about them, but they all learned from that 3 sets a night thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Sir, I'll leave you be. Like we said, that I will not take too
Thank
much of
you.
your time. But
Good to see
Ron,
you.
thanks so much for sharing
Hey,
these thoughts, and I still hope to catch you on the stage somewhere.
I'll be playing ballads then.
Yes, please. I love them.
Thank
Stay
you.
strong, Ron. Keep
Be
the youth
well.
for energy.